Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Abolition Hall Steering Committee meeting, Thursday, April 23rd. We are joined, we have Ed and Deb and myself here, along with Craig and JC, and then on Zoom, the rest of the committee with Dana and Darren, joined by the MTB group, Renee and Claire, and we have Tom and John as well, Tom Hosbeck or Tom Blomstrom and John Hosbeck. So just to begin, any questions on the minutes? Do we have approval for the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Awesome. Did you catch JC or Dana on that?
Dana said aye.
Cool.
Dana said it.
Thank you much.
Dana, can you unmute yourself? No? I'm sorry. Should be co-host. I thought I hit everyone. Sorry about that.
No worries.
That's okay. It's
there you
working
are.
now.
There we go.
Aye.
There we go. Okay, so tonight we really just have a lot of updates to run through, a couple discussion topics, but to begin, Craig, are you okay to begin with the?
Yep, we're going to do just updates on the property itself. As you said, John Hosbach is on Zoom, so I'm going to turn the tree project over to him. We have, I think it's all done and complete, but John, if you want to go, let us know.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So just to start off with, Craig, I really commend your staff on the patio walkway, the new driveway, the fence, the gate. I mean, they did a phenomenal job and really cleaned up. It was like night and day from when I was there a few weeks back with the tree company to just yesterday with Sam to do an inspection. It's just phenomenal job. I did reach out to Gary and Jack just to commend them on their performance. So let everybody know it's a phenomenal job.
Thank you, John. I'm sure they appreciate it. I saw Jack responded to that, your email. So they appreciate that, and they did a lot of work.
I wish I could have said the same about the tree guy, but Craig is correct. We are there. Couple hurdles that Craig, myself, and Sam have corrected. The contractor to date just has a couple areas where there were some ruts created. He is going to level those, seed, and put a straw fabric down just to help protect it. One large area down by the gate along Butler, which was his, staging area for equipment and access for getting wood and stuff off the site. But overall, he did a great job with spreading the wood chips throughout the invasive areas. The main removals have been completed. I know JC, you and Craig were on site. There was a bunch of trees missing, which prompted my not so nice email to the contractor. Since those have been removed, which is great.
That's wonderful.
So we're there. So we have a couple little hit items that we have to take care of internally. But we're on to the next party, which would be, starting invasives. I hear that we're going to get a grant for that. I would like to also, if you do get the grant, I would like to contribute $1,000 towards that. You guys have been great for me over the years, so I'll contribute $1,000 to that.
I'm
and I'd really like to see
John.
Yeah, this is being recorded.
Thank you, John.
I hope your pen doesn't work, Frank. Absolutely. So, I really want to start seeing those invasives go, and then I'll start planting. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal restoration project, especially to the amount of invasives. If you go out there now and look at the trees to remain, the entire understory is just prolifically found of invasives and invasive seeds and things sprouting. So as stewards of the township, we need to definitely control them and move forward. We're not looking to create a beautiful landscape. We're looking to recreate the little wooded patches that were there that once thrived and provided a native structure for wildlife habitat and all that good stuff. So we're moving along. Great tree project. Slower than anticipated, but we are there, the finish line on that part. Now we're on to phase 2, which will be invasives and then planting.
John,
That is my story for this evening.
Yeah, John, what's the grant that you mentioned?
We put in,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
we put in a couple grants. I think I mentioned it last time, the Historic Museum Commission grant. That's for the rehabilitation of Abolition Hall, but we also did a Commonwealth Finance Authority grant for $250,000 for parking and trailheads. We did a PICO grant for some open space for $10,000. So we have some grants out there. And we'll continue to look for more grants for plantings and so forth. So.
And those are all underway, like the applications are in process?
They're all submitted.
They're all, okay,
These 3 are all submitted, yes.
got it. So what's the total for all 3? That's amazing.
Total for all 3 would be 275, 285 total.
Nice. 286 with Mr.
286 now
Hosbach's donation.
with John's contribution, yeah.
Lovely.
Thank you, thank you.
Excellent.
But no, it's really shaping up. It looks really nice. The new driveway is such a phenomenal addition. I like that we didn't pave it. We kept it old school with the, the gravel, kept that look. I think it's a great establishment of a driveway that'll last for many years.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Nice job.
Any other questions for me, everybody?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you for having me and look forward to the next steps.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you,
Enjoy your
John.
evening, everybody.
Appreciate you
Thanks, John.
hopping on here. I know you were busy, so
Absolutely, always.
thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Happy Arbor Day.
Absolutely. Back at you. See ya.
All right, well, just some more updates. I mean, John kind of stole my thunder here with the Public Works going out. They were out there about 2 weeks, March 30th, the week of March 30th and April 6th. And I just have cleaning the area around the buildings, pruning trees, grading away from the building, keep water away from the foundation and the buildings, extended the downspouts away from the buildings, pile stone and brick that were scattered around the yard, removed dilapidated fence and shed, removed old pool heater, removed the vines from the walls in the building, installed new stone on the driveway. They also installed a new split rail fence and gate in the back area there. That was, kind of hard to get in and out. So, but it really does look good if you haven't been down there. It's worth the trip.
It looks great.
Thank
It really
you.
does.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job. They were very proud of themselves, but they deserve it. It really does look good. They put a new walkway in. I don't know if I even have that on here. A new walkway in from the driveway to the first floor of Abolition Hall.
Nice.
So, I mean, if someone was in a wheelchair, they can actually get there. It's a stone walkway. It was from an old patio at Coons Park that had a tree growing out of it, so it was all over the place. So they poured a concrete pad, but we saved the stone, and then we were able to reuse it over there. So, and it does look good. I can actually pull it up.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah, I can
That
pull
would
up
be- That's great. I mean, I think a lot of these recommendations were coming from Claire and
Yes.
phase 1 recommendations. And I think Claire, what's the quote about reuse of green?
The greenest building is the one that already exists, or something to that effect.
Yeah, so even a stone path, pretty nice.
See if I can just pull that up real quick. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Goodness.
Looks great.
So yeah, so that looks really good. Let's see, I'm not really great at sharing all this stuff. But, see if I can just pull it up. Let me show you. Now that's the driveway now. That's looking from the back of the driveway out to Butler Pike here. So this is all new stone going there, which
Impressive.
really doesn't
Yeah.
look nice.
Looks fabulous.
Mhm.
And it looks bigger. Did we extend it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's more
A
parking?
little bit over here, like that's, oh, why is it not popping up?
It's probably sharing your Finder screen as opposed to the pictures themselves.
Techie.
Techie over
Yeah,
here. All right, I know you call, all right.
I'll add them in the report when I send it to you, but it does
We
look
got the
nice.
idea.
And if you
Yeah,
have the
that's
idea,
great.
if you
Yeah.
have the idea and you know, drive down there, it is pretty nice. But me and Mr. Wilson were down there last Thursday. You know,
Mr. Wilson, are you pleased with how it looks?
It's excellent. The pathway is excellent. The fencing was good, driveway's great. The only caveat I have is I'm not quite sure with the walkway whether it's going to trap water or make a little levee there. Have to be looked at in a hurricane. We had a lot of hurricane water in that sort of courtyard area at times. When there was a hurricane, I'm talking about raining for days at a time, and it couldn't really get out.
We can always throw a drain in down the road if we need to.
We can, and we're gonna keep an eye on it. I mean, we pushed, all the downspouts are out toward, underneath the deck, towards the pathway now. So the concern was the water won't be able to get past the pathway and get into the courtyard. It'll just capture it there, but we'll keep an eye on it, so.
Excellent.
But did a great job there. We talked about the grants. Marple Lane, 14 Marple Lane is on the website. The bid specs are out there. It was advertised in the paper. I think I have it on Zillow. They said it's going to take 72 hours for them to approve it to get on. I don't know if anyone knows anything about Zillow, but I thought it was going to be immediate. So it's on there, or it's been submitted to Zillow for their review. So hopefully that gets on there tomorrow.
I saw it on Facebook too. Must
And-
be
yeah.
posted,
The-
It's
yeah.
on Facebook, it's
Yeah.
on.
Park and Rec email that Tom sent, there's a link for it.
Yeah, I reviewed the
too.
information. It was very well done.
Yeah, so then there's going to be 2 open houses down there that I'll go down and sit at 14 Marple Lane. I know I have one gentleman coming that has been,
Oh, yeah, the one who's
has been calling me
talking to
every week.
Do you have the dates and times for the open house?
I do, it's April 30th. I have from 1 to 3, and May 13th from 1 to 3 as well. The final bid submissions are due May 28th, and that'll give the solicitor some time to look through the bids, make sure everything's good, and it should be at the Board of Supervisors meeting June 11th for hopefully a acceptance of the bid. So, Sadell, I know you sent me an email. So the property description, the meets and bounds,
That's included in the packet.
that's in the packet, and it's in the deed as well. Describes the full property, not just the subdivision.
So it's, instead of a half an acre, it's 10 and a half acres.
10 some acres.
I will say, I read that, and I understood it.
I did as well.
So I'm working with the engineer and the solicitor's office to, well, first to get me a description that is for 14 Marple Lane, and then to see what we have, if we have to do anything with the deed, since it was recorded with the 10 and a half acres. So,
Yeah. It's probably a corrective deed, and it might not be the worst idea to consider just putting up a flagger at the top of that page, notice to bidders.
yeah.
The property is being conveyed with .43 or whatever the number is, not 10 acres.
I thought you had a deed.
Oh, I have dates. Yeah.
I thought you had a deed.
I have a deed, and somehow it was recorded at the county with the 10
The
point some
deed
acres.
says,
The deed,
It's not a huge deal. It's a corrective deed. It was an oversight along the way.
so,
Okay, well, at least that's getting addressed.
Craig, there was another point in my email, another concern.
yes, the buffering, it's in there. She's gonna get me a cleaner map for that, and I'll add that to the website and everything else.
What was the question?
It was, I guess it wasn't clear on the wetlands buffering, the delineation between the wetlands and the buffer area.
The buffer wasn't noted. The delineation of the wetland is noted, but not the 25-foot riparian corridor buffer.
So I'm working with the engineer to give me a clean copy of that. I should have that tonight or tomorrow, so I should have that. So that's, she promised me that. But thank you.
No charge.
What else we have here? Programs, we have Tom Blumstrom, if he's still here. I gotta open my browser here. I'm sure he is.
He's there.
Tom, you're there. You helped out with
Yes, sir.
the programming, so I'm gonna hand it off to you, and
Okay.
I'm here to help.
We're really excited. I'll start with Juneteenth. We're gonna have our Celebrate Juneteenth in America 250 with the historical lecture at Abolition Hall, Friday, June 19th, 12 p.m. Folks will need to pre-register. It is free, but they still need to register. We have 35 available spots. We have a bus reserved that will be picking folks up from Miles Park at 11 a.m. and then the bus will depart Abolition Hall at 2 p.m. With the program being approximately 90 minutes, so they'll have a little time prior to sort of dwell about. So that's for the Juneteenth program. We're real excited for that event. And then we have, thank you, Roy, for being our tour guide. We have the Abolition Hall History Tours. They began on May 12th. And then June 9th, July 14th, August 11th, and September 8th. They start at 12 p.m. We'll have 8 spots available per tour. There are 45-minute tours with Roy. Folks will, go to the site and park there for those tours. We are charging a nominal $5 per person for that. That was a recommendation that I gave to Roy and the manager based on experience of if you make it free and folks wake up and just don't feel like going, suddenly your 8 people goes to 4 people pretty quickly. And that happens. So even just saying it's $5, it's a nominal thing, but it does, people sit there and go, well, I spent $5, I better, go over and enjoy it. And I'm sure everyone will be eager as can be to go to it anyway. That all being said, it was advertised in the weekly this evening. Registration will be available tomorrow through our registration program for both events. And we will also be advertising it in e-blasts and on the website and the corner LED sign to, get the word out there to folks about the great upcoming events. So we'll be working with Roy to communicate numbers for the history tour a few days prior. We'll be able to check in and we'll be able to get him a class list per se. And, Juneteenth, we'll wait to see how things are filling up, and then we'll run with that one. So just real excited to have a few events over there, and thank you to Deb Lukens for her assistance, and Craig for his guidance as well through this process.
Thank you, Tom. That was, did a great job. I appreciate
He's
it.
polite, he did all the work.
I know, exactly.
I only had to approve what he already did.
I do have the flyers that were made up. If I don't know who's going to the Abolition Hall table, if they want to take them tonight, I have 150 of them. And just in case it sprinkles on Saturday, I have some that are laminated for the table and the legs and everything. There is a QR code they can scan right there and go register as immediately. So I do have that here tonight if anyone wants to take them with them tonight. But yeah, like Deb said, Tom, you did a great job. You really ran with this and helped us out. And of course, Roy, giving your time and doing the tours is fantastic. So
Can I jump in for a second, Craig?
yes, you can, absolutely.
Just to also, I wanted to point out and thank Roy Wilson for also being a part of the History Unleashed it was a kickoff event for Whitemarsh 250 at St. Thomas's Church, along with about a dozen other historic sites all came together. I was there and saw firsthand. Roy was very engaging, and we had a great turnout for what it was. 150 people came, and he got to talk with visitors about Abolition Hall, which I think was wonderful, and would definitely help the future tours that are being set up. We also had passports made up and were handed out, and Abolition Hall is one of the sites on the passport. So people in the community at any historic site in the area can pick up a passport, and that will encourage people to explore the different historic sites in Whitemarsh Township.
Thank you.
So thank you, Roy, for being a part of that.
Roy,
Oh, this is so
that's
cool.
awesome.
Dana, this is amazing.
Passport.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, so all the historic sites have been meeting at the Highlands for a couple months now, and Roy didn't hesitate to jump in and join us at the meetings and participate in the event.
Do you have three more?
Where do we get more, Dana, of these passports?
At any of the historic sites that are on the passport, they have passports available.
Give each one. Oh, thank you. This is awesome.
great.
Will we have
now we all
some
have a
of
passport.
these on
This is
Saturday?
awesome.
Yeah, I can get more if we need more. I don't know how many Roy has, but I can definitely get more.
They gave me 50, so I'll take whatever I have left.
Okay, just so we have more. Dana, if you have more, I could always swing by, because I'll be there
Yeah.
Saturday. I could swing by and pick them up from you.
Okay, great.
If you, I don't know. I'm hopeful, Tom, that everything is going to be sunshiny, and I don't know, we'll get these laminated too. This looks amazing. This is really cool.
Always sunny in Parks and Recreation.
There you go, I love it.
I like that.
Nice.
Anyway, the idea with these passports is that people would take them around to these all these different sites which are on their passport, and then each passport site will stamp it. Then you theoretically end up with this passport that has a stamp for each location that was listed. So the idea is that people going to the different sites will be encouraged to go to the other sites. Most of the sites are fairly obvious. They have, office hours, or they're open one day a month or a week or something. Abolition Hall is probably an outlier, and that we don't really have any hours. So this idea of setting up these visiting times on the flyer is the way to have some way for people to come and actually go inside the buildings. And we'll have to see how it plays out.
What does your stamp look like?
It's a really crappy stamp, to be honest about it. They gave me a star. I don't know if I'll use it or not.
Okay.
They're easy to get made.
Yeah, that's really
And kids will love this.
Oh my gosh,
You
I'm
know,
thinking
they
you're-
love to go
yeah,
and
you
get
have
a
a whole
stamp
scavenger hunt
and
going on.
hold on to this.
Yeah.
Like that's
We gotta
really
go
cool.
all these places.
Yeah.
I gotta fill out my card.
So when should we go to
I had very little to do with that. The person who designed it really did a beautiful job.
$250. That's very cool.
What?
Talk to Dana. But I do think that Hope Lodge should have a big celebration when they do the reenactment for all the
Yeah.
kids. They collect all the 250 stamps.
We're also having,
have,
Thomas Jefferson's
the-
going to read the Declaration of Independence in early August as well, and we're hoping that'll be a big event.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The Whitemarsh 250 group we're planning more things as the year goes on, and we have talked about prizes or something for people that, you know, have the passports stamped on every single site. Yeah, so that'll be cool. And I did want to say, Tom is absolutely right in the guidance with Roy and like how to set up the tours, how many people for the tour, and the cost. I will say from experience, if you don't charge anything, people very much will just like no show, no call. And $10 is too much for a lot of people. They don't want to pay the $10. So I think $5 is perfect for people to actually show up and pay.
That's really
That's
cool.
good.
That's very
Yeah.
exciting.
All right, anything else on the program?
Question, I know Rob is behind the scenes here, have we recorded you yet?
I took the tour over with Sid, a student who wants to write about Martha
Montgomery County.
Malsby Helmenden, tongue twister. We were there about an hour and a half going through the whole place. Video, I'd say, probably should have had a producer on hand because we had our coats on the whole time because it was really cold. We ended up inside looking at things I laid out for her to look at. Everybody still had their coats on, including me, so I can't say it was probably the most dynamic video. We'll see what he can do with it. But Rob hasn't had a chance to work on it yet. I sent him some stills and whatnot, so we'll see what happens. But Sid's doing a good job, I think, on the project. I haven't read it, and I'll see it when it comes out, just like you will. But she's asked some very insightful questions about a couple things, which I've done everything I can to help out with. I was talking to her this week about it. I'm not sure when it's going to get completed, but it sounds like she's pretty much got it under control.
Yeah, it'd be great to have her present.
Yeah, for her, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. She's using a lot of images, I guess, at least from what I understand. But she's a writer who knows what her slant will be.
Good point. Any other questions about?
At some point, I did want to show you guys the posters. I don't know if it's a good time.
Yeah, sure. Sure, yeah, absolutely.
When I did the Whitemarsh 250 thing with Dana on my head table, and I was going to use I made all these posters up, and I'm going to use them for Whitemarsh Township Day on Saturday.
Yeah. I have an easel as well that I'm bringing. I have an easel that I'm bringing.
I have a bunch of easels. I bought all the time, and the problem with these are it's going to be the wind, really. They had a lot of trouble over there, but I don't know if you're going to see this, but this is just an Abolition Hall sign. And I put that on the bottom. Everybody else had flags. I don't have any flag. This is the site sign. This is the site marker poster.
Wow.
Which just kind of lets everybody know what 3 buildings are. We're a little unusual. We're not Hope Lodge or Highlands or anything. We're actually a little consortium of buildings. It's really more of an estate. And unlike most properties that have an important building, probably the outbuildings maybe aren't important. In this particular case, all 3 buildings have some importance. So they're all equally part of a discussion of Abolition Hall. So at Abolition Hall, of course, 1856, the Hovenden House, 1767, and the Malsby Barn. The reason why I like to show the Malsby Barn in particular is you got a lot of websites even, you'll see Abolition Hall pictured as old Malsby Barn. They're still out there. And why? Because when you see the marker, which we put in, it's right in front of the Malsby Barn, so obviously you think that's Abolition Hall, but of course it's not. You can't really see Abolition Hall. So this allows me to explain it when I was talking to people what these 3 different buildings are. This is, I'm using these in Township Day. And then the more informative posters I made were these 2, which I put in some information. The 2 main topics of the property are Abolition Hall and Plymouth and Whitemarsh. And social justice, meaning Underground Railroad They were also heavily involved in suffrage and women's right to vote and temperance. They didn't believe in drinking. So this is just a very brief summary of those topics. I'm going to use the historical markers and the state historical marker and a few images. This is the George and Martha Corson of the Underground Railroad. And these are some of the speakers and whatnot that were there. This one, you can look at that if you like. And this one is the more the arts, which is the second component of Abolition Hall, which is frankly more, as far as Abolition Hall, the building goes, the more long-lived part of it is it was built in 1856, Civil War was 1860, obviously, so we're not talking a long period of time. The Hovenden House was much more involved in the Underground Railroad than Abolition Hall per se, because it's near the end of the whole thing, which Underground Railway starts like in 1830s and whatnot, so it's got a long history. But Abolition Hall itself was built in 1856 for a public meeting, so its history in the Underground Railroad is more truncated. Whereas in the arts, it goes from, basically a century. So it's so then I used the artist studio for having the Corson families post-Civil War. And this is Thomas Hovenden, John Brown. And this is Breaking Home Ties with Hovenden and his son. And these a piece by Martha, which is in the Valley Forge Washington Memorial Chapel. 2 tablets on the wall, very large. I mean, they're like 4 big sheets of plywood almost. And this is one by Helen. So the 3 members of the family, Helen being the property owner, really, it was her family, it was her property. Thomas, who married into the family, and then their daughter Martha. This is sort of the art component of property. So these are the 4 posters I'm going to use at Whitemarsh Day, or Township Day.
Fabulous.
They're wonderful.
And the problem was the wind was really a problem. We'll see what happens.
Alligator clips.
What's that?
Big alligator clips.
That's right. Duct tape.
The other interesting thing that happened when I was talking to people was a lot of people asked me where Abolition Hall was, which, understandable. But when I was able to show them the pictures of the buildings, a lot of people figured out, they were able to understand what I was talking about. And I'm going to take this little thing, which I purloined from either the township or Claire's drawing. I don't know who made this drawing, but I took a little piece of it.
Yeah, that's
And I'm gonna put
That's
this on the
Claire,
table
yeah.
and Clarified about some of the roads.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
they can say, well,
great.
here's the roads you'd be on. here's
Yeah,
the
so
buildings.
helpful for perspective.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
agreed.
So that's,
Nice.
I concur.
well, they're gonna help.
You can't undo it, I know. I live with it.
So much work into this.
I know, it's so exciting.
Thank you.
So thankful.
They're
So
amazing what
thankful.
you've put together.
I enjoy doing it.
Clearly,
Yes.
it shows.
Over the years, various people have reached out to me and said that their great uncle or great great grandmother or whatever was the model within in one of the figures in Breaking Home Ties, and somewhere along the line, I think it was a document I found at the Historical Society. In Nancy Corson's handwriting was a list of all the models in Breaking Home Ties and who they were and their connection to the community. I'm sure you have that.
I have that.
Yeah. So people from
Can we
this area.
use the microphone getting, that they can't hear on that? Zoom, sorry.
There's a document that I came across at the Plymouth Meeting Historical Society many years ago. It was a note from Nancy Corson, who was the great-granddaughter of George Corson, I believe, in which she listed all the people who served as models in Breaking Home Ties, the Hovenden painting, and identified them as people who live in the community or lived in the community at that time. And local people have found that detail very interesting.
Just want to say, in future years, if we wanted to advertise ourselves, this weekend is Crooked Billet in Horsham. 20, 30 different historical houses, sites come together, and people come in and get information about them and maybe a little thing. And if we're going to be having programs and such, it might be a good way of getting ourselves known to the larger historical
And
community
which
in
one
this
is that?
area.
Can you repeat that again?
It's called
Jen?
Crooked Billet, and it's in Horsham. And like I said, it's like 20 or 30 different local historical places come together. The public can come in and learn about the different sites, and I think some people bring things, but I mean, it's a way of getting to know all the different things in the community that you're unaware of, so it might be a way for us to advertise what we're doing to an interested community.
Thank you.
We just had one comment. The reason why there's documentation that Seidel's referring to about who these people were in the Thomas Hubbardton painting, Breaking Home Ties is one of his famous paintings. The reason why it's on the National Historic Register, which are the little oval markers with the dates on them, Nancy Corson with the Plymouth Meeting Historical Society spearheaded that and put that application in, and that's why it was. That's why this documentation was put together as a way of proving the historical importance of the site. And then later on, that was in 1971. I was still in college. And then later on, 2000, Nancy Corson and I did the application for the state historical marker, which is the blue sign. So they're two completely different applications and different topics, but the state historical marker was more, what they were more interested in was its history and the Underground Railroad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. But everybody can hear now? I was checking Dana and Darren. Especially, okay. And website update.
Website update, yeah, the web page is up and running. It's a little easier to get to. Yeah, it'll be periodically updated throughout years and
Perfect.
when the information comes in. So right now all the bid specs are on there and everything, but there's pictures on there and everything else. So, and then me and Rob are working on putting more information in there as time goes on.
Craig?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, when I clicked on the link that appears in the primary menu, so one of the drop-down buttons led me to the link. What that brought me to was a page that had information about the bid. Sorry.
We can just pass around.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
When I clicked on the drop-down menu on the home page of the website, it took me to a page that had the information about Marple Lane. It didn't take me to, I don't think it took me to the underlying page. So, for example, if I click on that link, I might want to know when's the next meeting, what time is the next meeting, and that information didn't appear there. And maybe there needs to be an additional link once you get on that landing page.
Yeah, that makes sense, to like have
To
it
get
cross
to-
or like connect
Connect
to
to,
the
to
calendar
The
even.
commission.
Which is now under boards and commissions.
Okay, we can.
Yeah, that's-
I'm sorry, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, no
Right,
worries.
right.
No worries.
Um,
But it does make sense when you go to a
So
site
it
to
doesn't,
have it
I see,
cross.
so it
It does-
doesn't link to the
currently it
Abolition Hall
doesn't-
Steering Committee
Right, right.
landing. Oh, okay, it's
Right.
just, it's the history page, okay. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, to any of the events, the calendar. So on the website, the fundraising, I know we have a fundraising thing set up for the budget, and
Yeah,
But I don't know if
I've been telling you since first week in February that we're having a drop down, and they just have to
I haven't
add
done
the
it, yeah.
language.
Okay.
I think we're going away from that. We heard today that they still have not even started it. We're gonna put a Venmo QR code out there it'll be a Whitemarsh Township account in the Venmo page. We're just asking anyone that donates specifically to Abolition Hall to put that in the, what's this for category, and just have Abolition Hall donation. Other than the person that was supposed to be working on this leaving the company, I'm not sure why this is not set up, but I don't think we're going to continue with community tasks. We told them today, just forget it. We'll figure something else out. Whether it's just a Venmo or going through the bank and setting something up with them. We thought it was easier because we already have this community pass. We thought it was a simple ask, but it wasn't, apparently.
We could also create a 501c3.
What a beautiful segue down the agenda. Not practiced at all.
But there is a Venmo account that's set up now, and I have to do a flyer tomorrow, obviously, for the Township Day, but it'll be something out there, so.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
With regard to donations, some people might expect a receipt for tax purposes, and if it's a donation of $250 or more, IRS requires that you provide a tax donation. So how will that be handled through Venmo or the township?
The Venmo, you would still get information, you can go into your account and.
But you are required to send a letter, or
If it's $250 or more,
We can send a letter.
Yeah.
We'll have,
and there's some,
finance
there's
have a
some language,
specific-
very specific language that I'm sure,
Yep. I can have finance set up a general letter and put names and amounts and so forth.
and there's required language that has to go in there, that
Correct.
no goods or
I'll have them-
services.
I'll have them research.
more and more sites are giving it the thank you, and the IRS are coming at the same time, and they're ignoring the $250 part, even if you give $100 or $25. But it's thank you for your donation, and at the bottom it has that IRS language, and rather than have to try and track down later whether or not it's the $250 amount, maybe you need 3 donations, then you don't have to worry about that.
Like an auto email response.
Craig, I can forward you the form that I send to donors if you want.
Oh, that'll be great, if you could.
It's
Yeah.
also the case that in Pennsylvania, if you're soliciting charitable donations, you have to be registered with the Bureau of Charities. I don't know whether that applies to municipalities, but there is an annual license in effect, registration.
Hey, Craig.
Yes.
Did you just say incorrect and then nothing else?
No, I said, hey, Craig. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I'm not that
incorrect.
I'm not that obnoxious. I believe that until we're a 501c3, the receipt documentation isn't necessary because someone who's giving money shouldn't be giving it to the IRS as a charitable donation and shouldn't have to quantify anything. And I don't believe the township needs to register with the Bureau of Charities because it's not a charitable corporation.
I make the recommendation that we punt this issue to Sean Kilkenny's office.
Good idea.
And he can say incorrect.
All right, I will.
Make a motion, I second, approve. I don't know that that needs to be formal, but that makes sense.
Yeah, motion to recommend
that
the Board of Supervisors consider getting the solicitor to weigh in on the charitable donation issue to make sure that everything's buttoned up.
I agree.
A lot of foundations won't give to a governmental agency, they'll give to a 501c. We had that, that's why the Colonial Foundation exists for the school district, so that a company or somebody who wants to make a charitable donation can give it to the foundation, because they can't give it to the school district.
And there's just this in-between time
Right.
right now until the 501 is established. So, you know, however, given that it's the 250, there are a lot of events already happening. It would be ideal to have some way to have people in the moment, when they're in that moment wanting to donate. They might not feel that way in 3 months or 4 months. So.
Yeah, put the QR code everywhere. We have a motion, we have a second, right? All
in favor, yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Laura?
Yeah,
Aye.
Laura?
yes?
While we're considering and possibly pursuing the formation of a 501c3, you raise a good point about it being 250 and a lot of interest and maybe generosity. I think that we should also recommend to the Board of Supervisors that they explore a short-term solution of finding a fiscal sponsor that can give us that charitable donation coverage until ours is approved by the IRS.
I'm not sure what to, I mean, I'm
All right.
hoping that this would happen quickly.
Does everyone understand what Darren's saying?
No.
All right, so, and Darren, correct me if I misstate anything. When you're creating a 501c3, or if I think the township as a municipality has certain exemptions similar to a 501c3, which Sean will clarify, but when you're a newly formed entity, it takes a while to get your IRS charitable exemption. And so you get a sponsor, which is another 501c3 who agrees to collect money on your behalf and then share it with you. Darren, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea would be you would go to like another organization that's already established and say, hey, can we funnel these donations to you? And you agree to give them to us.
And just one thing to add, the fiscal sponsors are set up specifically for the purpose of serving in this capacity for other nonprofits. So it wouldn't be someone coming to Simon's Heart, my organization, and saying, hey, will you do this for me? It's going to an organization like the Philadelphia Foundation and signing a formal document and basically having them be your accounting partner.
Does the William Penn Foundation do this?
Don't know.
We should find that out, because
I don't think they do.
no?
There's another organization that I always confuse with the Urban League, but it's not, that's in downtown Philly, that I think would be a really good partner for this, because their focus is on elevating communities that have been disenfranchised. And so I think they would be interested in what we're doing and maybe could be a short-term solution for this.
And quite frankly, I think William Penn's mission has changed in recent years to be much more people-focused, where historically it had been more like natural landscape-focused. And it might not be a bad question to ask for nothing else than to put ourselves on their radar. If that's something that either the township or the supervisors want to consider, Mara from the Whitemarsh Foundation would be a good source of information on that.
And as from my perspective, these are all great. I just want to make sure that we run anything and everything by our solicitor, as we are a government agency and
Yeah.
there are other requirements within that structure,
So what I hear you say is, before there are side conversations,
yeah.
we want to add, can we amend the previous motion to include a recommendation that the solicitor also consider what having a interim fiscal sponsor would involve?
And if that's a viable option for us.
If it's necessary.
It's sort of an opinion, we're requesting an opinion letter on the township's responsibilities when it accepts donations.
That's the core.
And whether,
Yeah, that is the core.
And whether a fiscal sponsor is something
It's gonna be
that should
helpful.
be considered. And maybe at our next meeting, if that opinion were available by then, we could discuss it further. So
Hey, Laura,
Yes.
just a slight modification. It wouldn't actually be Whitemarsh Township that would be arranging things with the fiscal sponsor. Whitemarsh Township would, if it chose to, set up a nonprofit corporation, which it would have to do anyways to then apply to the IRS. And that new entity would then have the relationship with the fiscal sponsor.
Oh.
All right, so for the record, the motion that we made was amended to get an opinion letter from the solicitor on the township's responsibilities when accepting donations. And I think that's it. And then the 501c3 stuff is not the solicitor's purview at this time because it would be a matter for the 501c3. Which
So
brings us,
say that question again.
the fiscal sponsor is within the purview of the 501c3, not the township. So it's not a matter that the solicitor needs to opine on at this time or ever.
So it's just a matter of the township accepting donations for the Abolition Hall.
And its obligations in connection
that.
therewith. Which brings us to the 501c3 discussion topic.
501c3, yep.
We're there.
Some of the names that were given out the last time is Abolition Hall Historical Society, Abolition Hall Arts and Learning Center, Abolition Hall Arts and Learning, Abolition Hall Arts and Education Center, Abolition Hall History Center, Abolition Hall History Center of Pennsylvania, Abolition Hall History Center of Montgomery County, Abolition Hall History Center of Whitemarsh, PA. That's what I pulled from the old transcripts from the last meeting.
Darren and I were talking. Darren, you mentioned about Abolition Hall Plymouth meeting. I kind of like.
Yeah, and I thought that would be creative.
I like the idea that it's helping locate where it is. It's kind of pinpointing where we are. You know, the arts, the history are part of it, but I don't know. What are people's thoughts?
Before we go to the audience, is this something where the contributions of the Carabots Foundation should be tied in with the name? Like the Carabots Foundation for the preservation of Abolition Hall? I mean, is that have you had any of those discussions? Anyone?
Yeah, wasn't there something
There have been
in the original that said their name had to
some
be
naming
used?
rights on the building. I don't know
Correct,
about
naming rights on the building. I don't think for the purposes of the 501c3 that they need to be named on that or have an interest in that. I know that we've approached Bob about someone from the Carabots being on the board, and I think that's an important piece to this, of having that representation. But I had thought, Darren, at one point in time with some of the email traffic that Bob Downs had weighed in on the name, and there was a name that was particularly appealing to him. Do you recall?
I don't off the top of my head, but I will find that email and share it with you again.
It doesn't have to be what they want for sure, but if we're weighing them equally, just having that input is helpful.
Yeah, and JC, I found that exchange was really instructive, just to find out from Bob what was most important
Correct.
to him and the family when it came to the activities. So I agree with you. I'm not sure the name needs to reflect it, but I'll share that with you again.
I appreciate it. He wasn't able to come this evening to engage in this, so.
And while we're looking for that name, there's a question in the audience.
Yes.
It's a comment.
So historically, my understanding, based on my reading, is that the homestead and the people who live there have been associated with the village of Plymouth Meeting. But in thinking about how we might want to identify the homestead and the history today, my inclination is to tie it to Whitemarsh, PA. This is just a comment, so.
Yeah, we
Is there
don't
more
want Plymouth
to
Township
that?
taking credit for this.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean,
Exactly.
it's ours, lock, stock, and barrel, so.
But the village includes a piece of Whitemarsh and a piece of Plymouth. But I think Whitemarsh should take ownership of this project. That's my inclination.
Thank you. Does anyone have the minutes in front of them? I reviewed them, but I don't have them in front of me from the last meeting. Where do we leave off with motions regarding recommendations on the 501c3?
The board has voted.
Yeah, we've already voted.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. So
It's
at this
just going to
point-
take, obviously, it's going to take some time. There's bylaws, there's a lot of things that have to happen. But starting with the name.
Okay.
That's-
That's
There's a
That's
little
the
bit of
kickoff.
time. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
something.
it doesn't
that we
have to
make a
be tonight.
recommendation
No, it doesn't have to be tonight, but that's definitely a starting point. And I want to make sure that we have a name that reflects what.
What was the one?
But they can't put their bylaws in or anything without a name.
What was
So-
correct? There was one that was.
If we don't move
Okay, so it
forward,
is kind of
it
time
is
sensitive.
kind of
Okay.
sensitive, yeah.
Wasn't there one that was arts and
Good point.
advancement or something?
Thank you.
Can you read
That was
the
in
names?
his list.
Can you read the names one more time a little slower?
We just want it enough, not so long that
We have to
Yeah,
write a lot.
can't get it too long.
you end up abbreviating, people don't know what the abbreviation is, yeah. it's-
This is what I pulled, I wasn't on those emails, so this is what I pulled from the last transcript, is Abolition Hall Historical Society, Abolition Hall Arts and Learning Center, Abolition Hall Arts and Learning, Abolition Hall Arts and Education Center, Abolition Hall History Center, and then Abolition Hall History Center of Pennsylvania, Abolition Hall History Center of Montgomery County, Abolition Hall History Center of Whitemarsh, PA.
Well done in getting all that down. That's a lot, okay.
If I could add real quick, and Darren, you might be able to help or confirm this or not confirm this with your and/or Ed, but I also think the official name that's the 501c3 is often not necessarily what the name of the facility and/or grounds is known as. So, for example, it might be the WCAC, whatever, something like that, but it's, the community, everybody knows it is Whitemarsh Ambulance. So I am familiar with a couple of these that I've gone through where the name that exists as the official name of the nonprofit that's in the documents there's like kind of an also known as that the public refers to it as because it's easier, it's just more of a marketing kind of thing, I suppose. So I'm just going with so the devil in the details might not necessarily be there in this one, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure if I'm off on that or not. Maybe you can add something there, Darren, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do, and you're right. The name of the nonprofit, all we're doing is we're naming a corporate entity. And as we know, a lot of times LLCs are, J&J LLC, and then there's a doing business as that's filed that might be more personable or marketable. So that's definitely a tactic to take. I don't know how strategic that is, though. I would think that in most cases, people rush to file and then they realize that the name they've chosen doesn't really convey to anybody what they're doing. So to the extent that we can reveal that in our name, if it's not too troubling to do so, I think is probably the best course.
I like the idea. One of the things that we've grappled with at the Highlands is how to make something that's really old interactive and relevant, because you have a lot of old sites And what I love about Hope Lodge is the reenactment. And I grew up going, my kids go. What we love about the Highlands is the things that Dana has done to make it interactive and relevant. If we take Abolition Hall and we make it a historical driven name of the 501c3, I think we're limiting ourselves to people who would promote the arts and promote the education, which is core to the mission of the Carabots Foundation's contribution to this. So I like the idea of calling out in our name
The intent.
If Bob likes it, I like the idea of calling out arts and education, and this history, which can be a difficult topic, is still going to be part and parcel to it, but it's a little bit more uplifting than the history. And well, the history is a little, it's got complexities, right? And so I like the arts and education for the name.
I agree with Ed in the name, and piggybacking on what Darren said too. Obviously, the Highlands is the Highlands Historical Society, but everyone just knows it as the Highlands. So it can be two different names, and I agree with Ed that Abolition Hall is historical. That is history. So I think it's we don't need to say history in the name because Abolition Hall is the historical aspect already.
Yeah.
Abolition Hall Arts and Education Center, or it's not really a center.
I was just going to suggest if you named it like Abolition Hall at Whitemarsh, you could have the Arts and Education Center at Abolition Hall, and everything that you do that's that part of your mission would always be under that name, the Arts and Education Center at Abolition Hall, Whitemarsh. But when you're historical, you're just Abolition Hall, Whitemarsh, and your official name is Abolition Hall, Whitemarsh, or Plymouth Meeting, or however we go that way. But when you're doing that Carabot side of things, that modern stuff, that education and the arts and everything that they wanted, that would be the name that you use, Arts and Education Center at Abolition Hall.
The Nicholas Carabot's Arts and Education Center there, and then the name of the 501c3. That's a great point, Deb.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I also like that comment. I think that it's Abolition Hall, and it's in Whitemarsh or it's in Plymouth Meeting, and so I think that name suffices. And then we have so many opportunities to have campaigns or to name a building or to do a doing business as later.
Arts and Education Center at Abolition Hall of Whitemarsh.
Well, your Abolition Hall at Whitemarsh for your official name and anything, but when you're talking about that modern Carabot side of it, you call yourself the Arts and Education Center at Abolition Hall.
So if you had Abolition Hall Preservation Society or Abolition Hall
At Whitemarsh or whatever, yeah.
Abolition Hall at Whitemarsh.
That allows you to emphasize that you're talking about this more modern Carabot side of it when you add Arts and Education Center at is sponsoring this event, this course, this whatever.
Claire, Renee, do you have any thoughts and insight? I know you have a lot of background in this.
The word foundation might be useful. Abolition Hall Foundation.
Claire, do you think that would help for things like grant applications?
I'm not sure that matters so much, but something that I think simple that just, I think the idea of just what Deb was saying, Abolition Hall at Whitemarsh is also simple and generic enough, and then it can be modified for a whole variety of uses. But same thing with foundation, Abolition Hall Foundation could serve as just the funding entity.
I'm with Claire. My vote's with Abolition Hall Foundation.
Yeah.
Because then it's Abolition Hall in Whitemarsh, the Abolition Hall Foundation, and then we can get the arts.
Would
in
we
there.
have Whitemarsh in the name? No.
I don't think so. Abolition Hall Foundation.
Hey, Ed, my only concern with that is that that's so generic.
There's so many abolition halls.
Right, and there may be another Abolition Hall Foundation in another place in Pennsylvania or in another state. And so I think having a unique indicator in there is useful. So whether it's Whitemarsh or Plymouth Meeting, and I would just ask the people in the room, what is a more useful indicator for the public? Are more people going to be familiar with Whitemarsh? More people going to be familiar with Plymouth Meeting? What would each of those names be doing for this entity? Because we want our name to work for us.
I agree with the Whitemarsh.
Yeah, I do too.
I do.
It's in Whitemarsh.
It's Whitemarsh's residential
What
tax
paid for.
base.
Yeah, exactly.
So what-
Money's coming from
How about the
Whitemarsh.
Abolition Hall Foundation of Whitemarsh?
Yeah. that's-
I like that.
Abolition Hall Foundation in Whitemarsh.
I think we're there, we're circling it. I do think that Whitemarsh should be a part of it because, you know, if you just Google search Abolition Hall, many come up, so.
And then we're ready to get real fancy, we're Arts and Education Center at Abolition Hall Foundation of Whitemarsh.
I may filibuster against that name.
What do you think? We make a recommendation?
Any comment from the public on Abolition Hall Foundation of Whitemarsh?
What does Roy think?
Is that the name, Abolition Hall Foundation of Whitemarsh?
That's
like
just
that?
for the 501c3. That would just be for the 501c3.
I guess I would say Whitemarsh owns the property and it's in Whitemarsh, so I can certainly see why you want to call it Whitemarsh. I've been to a lot of township meetings in the state, and I think there's like 150 townships in the state of Pennsylvania, or some ridiculously idiotic number, most of which you've never heard of, and most of the ones around here I've never heard of. I don't know how much cachet Whitemarsh really has, to be perfectly honest, outside of this room or outside of this couple streets here. Plymouth Meeting is probably more well-known because it's been on a lot of street signs and interstate signs over the years.
It's a great place to live and work.
No, I'm not criticizing Whitemarsh, I'm just saying, I wouldn't say it has any great placeholder name in my mind. Plymouth Meeting seems more prominent in my mind, but
Does anybody,
involved in the history, that's why.
Darren?
yeah, does anybody know, was Whitemarsh around when Abolition Hall was around, or is it a new thing?
We had our, 250th when it rained?
Oh,
Yeah.
you're right, my bad.
Years ago, whatever that was. I think the foundation makes it a little wordy. I thought Abolition Hall, Whitemarsh was nice.
But the foundation is important for people who are giving money. You know,
Sounds important.
grants, it sounds like the Whitemarsh Foundation, right? Like the William Penn Foundation, the
It will
Abolition.
default to Abolition Hall in general conversation. But I hear it, I agree. When it, William Penn Foundation, yeah.
The Underground
Has a little
Railroad
depth.
Foundation.
There's probably a bunch of those out there too.
Yeah.
No, that works.
I make a motion for Abolition Hall Foundation of Whitemarsh.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, there you go. Who would have thought?
All right, what's up next?
You're like,
JC, is there anything else that we should decide? Because I wasn't at the last Board of Supervisors meeting to know what, is there anything else that we can discuss or?
I mean, it starts with the name, so as Craig
Yeah,
said,
once the name gets there, then they can work on the bylaws. I think you brought it up last
Yeah.
time. It's going to be really off-the-shelf bylaws, and they'll write that up, and
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
put
the
everything in.
division of the
started.
board, to
Yep.
how many members,
Yep.
recommendations,
Yep.
things like that, okay.
those are things
So-
to move on.
The only other thing that I had was to set a date for the next meeting. And
Well, we did have the Incorporator, the board already told Kilkenny to work on it. There was a question that was given to me that Kilkenny's office does have someone that does 501c3s. His name
Yeah.
is Mark Blatchta. I don't know if anyone knows him, but he is experienced in forming 501c3s.
That's great.
So, And they'll need a corporate purpose, but we can send that around. We don't have that.
I would highly recommend you take a look at the Highlands bylaws, because like their incorporation docs, they have Hugh Moulton's fingers all over them. And they're written incredibly well, and they serve so many purposes that, like, when we went to do like a land conservation deal, they look at what your articles of incorporation are for getting state grants, and wouldn't you know it, Hugh wrote them so that it grabbed that. Like, it was in the incorporation
Well, that
docs.
sounds like a good thing to look
So
at.
either Dana or I
Dana,
can
can
share
you
those with you. It's worth looking at.
Can you share?
Yeah, I can share them.
Okay. Okay.
I'll send them to Craig.
Thank
Bob
you, Dana.
about that.
You're welcome.
Thank
sorry?
you.
Getting some insight from Bob Downs.
Bob Downs, yep.
Would be probably good.
I do have one more thing. I had a phone call today with a producer, and Darren put her in touch with me or whatever. So Darren, jump in whenever you want to, or if you want to start it off, that's fine too. Asking if they could use the Abolition Hall site buildings June 1st through June 5th. And I have comedians need space for a creative and week-long comedy writer's room. Ideally, the space invokes the history and implications that we are grappling with today. We are a video documenting and creative process for the possibility of a reality show docuseries project. We'd like to use the space for a pop-up exhibit, which you can feel for from the video link below. And they sent me a video. The storytelling project is called We Can Handle the Truth, and the project is with White Men for Racial Justice.
I'm going to say, at this early infant stage that we are at with this project, the idea of putting comedians into such a sensitive space, besides the logistics and the safety concerns.
I questioned the producer today on that, and I said, I
All it
don't
takes is some-
understand,
So I was thinking that
Is
they
there
were
a
there
sensitivity
just to have
problem
a
here?
space to rent with like a really great
It's a
atmosphere.
huge sensitivity problem.
But they're actually using the context of the environment.
To make
Is that right?
to make jokes.
Let me jump in, if I can. I have some more context.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the name of the organization, the community, is called White Men for Racial Justice. I've been a part of it for 3 years. And it's exactly what it is. It's white men who are relearning history and examining how we as individuals and as a group have been a part of the problem that has perpetuated white supremacy. The group has started a campaign called We Can Handle the Truth that it is taking to different cities to elevate stories of people who have stood up for Black and brown people over the years, like the Corsons, but have been not placed in our history books, as well as incidents that have happened that have not made it into the history books. So it's a real truth-telling, truth-seeking effort. This thing with comedians is really unique in that the group realizes that not everyone is going to be receptive to the serious nature of what's being discussed, and that comedy can be used as a way to cut through and bring difficult topics to bear. So this producer and this group is specifically looking for a Black or brown owned venue or a place that is rich with history that was generous and consequential to Black and brown people in this country. So in no way, shape, or form is there any risk of this site being belittled or things being misunderstood. The only thing that would come out of this is something that would enrich what we're trying to do here. So I'll just add that context and step back out of it.
It is not an open to the public, hey, we're selling tickets. It's literally just the group coming in and videoing a discussion sitting around. I mean, she said there's going to be maybe 10 people in the room, and they sit around a table and they video a discussion from the tables. And I think they bring in other people at one point, Darren, if you're...
Yeah, they're definitely gonna bring in historians and influencers from this space, and it's essentially going to be like a writer's room. They're trying to brainstorm, figure out ways that they can create content that might use comedy to reach new audiences with this kind of subject matter.
So are they going to take photographs of the property as they engage in this process, or are they using the building, the environment to kind of be creative? Like, how are they,
Yeah, my understanding is that they just want to use the top floor of the barn, Abolition Hall. It's an open space as a writer's room, and they'll be filming themselves while they're working. So it'll be like a documentary. It's not to photograph the buildings or to walk around the property. It's really, they just want a meaningful space that'll hopefully enhance this process.
And that's what I got from the producer too.
And what are they donating to do that?
They have a very small donation process, but depends on what they need. I mean, I said, I don't think there's Wi-Fi down there, so they might have to install Wi-Fi. They're like, do we need furniture?
Darren, is it important that it be at Abolition Hall? I mean, is that of significance to the group?
Yeah, it's of real significance. They really want to find a venue that has meaning. So if it's not Abolition, for instance, it's not Abolition Hall, no other space in Whitemarsh would necessarily be interesting. And I'm the one that suggested it, not really knowing, but just saying, hey, I'm working on this project and this place is pretty meaningful. And just so you know, not these writers, but this group, White Men for Racial Justice, next week, and I'll be a part of this, are getting on a bus in Richmond to travel down to Montgomery, Alabama over a week, because it's the anniversary of the bus rides back in the 60s.
Will you be there when this goes on, Darren?
I'm sorry, what, Dad?
Will you be a part of this physically
No, I won't. I mean, I would definitely drop in. I have 2 people staying at my house, whether they're at Abolition Hall or in downtown Philly. So I would be, available, but I'm not going to be in the room.
What's the film being used for? Like, where is it going to be put out? Like, is it a YouTube thing, or is it on a, how are they using it? How are they distributing it?
I don't think they know yet, Dana. I think they're just trying to see if this hypothesis works. Like, can you use comedy as a way to have these conversations? And depending on how it goes, they'll either have some content that they'll potentially make a documentary out of. And when I say documentary, that might be YouTube long form video or short form video, or it might just have 2-minute sound bites that are used. But there's definitely no vision of what this is going to be.
Yeah,
it's a big experiment.
I initially had the same concerns as Ed, and that's something like to explore and think about. I think maybe not even for this specific proposal or project, but for future ones as well. Speaking on experience of having a documentary filmed on site, there's a lot of detail that if we were to do this, to have parameters of, like you said, like the furniture being brought in, if they're putting anything on the walls, like what how they're filling the room, and then what do we do about access and how long they're there, and like Craig said, Wi-Fi, like who's letting them in and out? Is there any oversight? What are the hours and stipulations and
Insurance.
there's a lot to think about in it. Parking, what vehicles are there, where are they going to park?
Yeah, and I went through all that. It's not ADA accessible. It's the parking is limited. You know, I don't know what kind of lighting you need. You know, I don't know what you're really looking for. I said it's not really set up
Darren,
for anything right now.
Darren, I don't want to poo-poo this. I feel like if the hypothesis is tested and we see it and we understand it, I would feel more comfortable with it.
I think there needs to be like a little mini meeting with the producer with more people to flush this out a little bit. In my head, I have Nate Bargatze's SNL skit about Washington's Crossing. Have you seen any of these? Like it's the historical, it's a comment about history done, you know, with humor. Kind of I think it's kind of along that line, Darren. Have you seen those skits?
I love them, absolutely. And I don't think that's it. I think I agree. I think we need to talk to the producers, but also, Craig, can you share that link with everybody? Because I believe what that link is it's about 2 minutes from an exhibit of We Can Handle the Truth that was done in Arkansas a couple months ago. And you'll get a sense as to what this group's about. But I agree. There's, as Dana said, there's a lot of things that need to be decided, and so whether or not this group is given this opportunity, I think that we need to start thinking about the ground rules and expectations.
And given this opportunity in 6 weeks, right? Like, I think if it's a year from now.
Timing is,
Well, and that's the thing, and it just so happens that we had a meeting tonight. I said I could bring it up tonight. I said, but I don't know, they may punt this to the Board of Supervisors, which the next meeting would be, May 12th or whatever it is.
Yeah. May
And then
14th,
she was like,
correct.
well, that's obviously too late. We don't have enough time. And I said, okay, well, I said, I'll bring it up to this board tonight, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. It'll be a yes, no, or we need more information. And if
Do you
it's
feel
we need
this
more
is something
information,
that
then
needs
we.
a vote by the board?
I do, and I'll tell you why. We are at the beginning stages, as Ed mentioned. We are a township, we are municipal government, and we're in an unusual position of owning a historical property where there will be programming, there will be all kinds of different things. I think it makes more sense to wait until we have a 501c3 that is one step. It's together with the township, but it's also one step removed. I think if the township at this point starts having things that are, whatever, documentary, political in nature, focusing on one side or another or whatever, I anticipate that there'll be all kinds of programming that will happen in the future. But I think we have to be very careful and consider a lot of different things, because we are a government entity and a municipal government that represents everyone. So,
And it gets into free speech stuff.
correct.
You're allowing one group to use it, but not another.
Correct.
And what's the
Correct.
advantage to us?
Correct.
Exactly.
What's the advantage to
Yeah, if
this?
the offer was 10 grand, it'd be-
Right, that was my first
Well,
question.
and
The max that she says they have $3,000 to do this. So if they have to put furniture in there, they have to put Wi-Fi in there, remove all that, and then whatever's left.
10 cents.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a moneymaker. It was something. So-
Yeah, but these are, I mean, it's great that it's being discussed. I think it's helpful to go through these things, but I think it's a fair point that.
We're not ready.
What type of motion should we strike up
And I
here?
think things like this will get vetted as we go through the bylaws. things will come up that we'll be asked to do or asked to weigh in on or asked to talk about, that will develop policies and procedures that will come out of a lot of different things. I see it at the library all the time, having to update this and that because of a situation that's come up, or an organization that's come in that wants to, rent a room or borrow a whatever. These are things that I think have to be weighed very carefully.
Given the amount of time, is it something that this group wants to even put to a vote,
Well,
to say we want to?
Out of respect for the project, my thought was to consider making a motion that we notify the Board of Supervisors that there was an expression of interest, and allowing the Board of Supervisors to figure out, I don't know what else we would do with it at this point.
Here's the buck. It's we're passing the buck.
By the way,
Meet before they need it, so it's sort
I
of
think you
like,
guys have to decide. You're the steering committee.
All we do is make recommendations.
Make a recommendation.
Well, honestly, at this point, if you're going to make a recommendation to the board for the May 14th meeting, it'll be too late anyway.
So it's not going to happen.
So I think at this point, it isn't going to happen.
yeah, and I actually think that what JC said is spot on. So if we were voting, I would abstain, but if I wasn't abstaining, I would side with JC.
But tell them to come back.
Well, and these are things that need to get, and everybody's perspective is so meaningful.
We'll get it up.
It's actually a good thing that it was brought up, because it is something that is going to have to be flushed out, and whether it be the bylaws or, like what JC was saying, the policies and procedures. So it's good that
100%.
it's coming up and it's on our radar now, but it's timing wise, we can't entertain it.
501c3 is allowed to have a filter. A local government is not.
No, it's more.
So
It's much
for
more-
logistical
it's
concerns,
much more
we're going to
nuanced.
say no at this time, I think.
Yeah, so I will get back to her. I'll get back to her tonight. and,
Still like to see the link, that'd be cool. Or Darren,
I'll send the
me
link. Yeah, I'll send the
okay.
link to everyone, just so you can see it. It is short. I don't even know if it's 2 minutes, Darren, but it's short, and it gives you some kind of idea. So.
You mind sending it to me?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so next meeting date, so the next Board of Supervisors, the 14th?
It is. And we have Deb Harris.
If we're going to go to public comment, if we're to that point of the agenda.
Are we at public comment?
Can we pick a date real quick?
Oh, you want to do that first?
Because then you can comment on the
Yeah,
date.
sure.
What are you thinking, Laura?
I could do the 28th, but I think someone else, a couple people can't do the 28th.
Ed can't do the
I cannot.
28th.
Can't.
I remember. I can do the 28th.
That's all right. My attendance has been pretty good. I can.
First week of June?
I can do the 4th. If
Is
it's a
the 4th
Thursday.
possible?
I can do the 1st or the 4th if we're
Or
doing.
The 1st is not good, but I
I
can
can do the
third-
4th.
You can do the 4th? I can do the 4th.
Darren?
Let me check real quick.
I can do the 4th.
Yes, that's good for me.
Yay. All right, see?
All right, hold on, I gotta see if the room is.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, no.
that's an important feature.
We could move to
do it at
Abolition Hall.
We could.
except there's no,
There's nowhere to sit.
no.
Tom could host
There's
you
nowhere to
at
sit.
There you go.
June 4th is available. I will not be here. I have a high school graduation I gotta go to.
Oh,
So,
that's,
but
got it.
June 4th is available here.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Or what do you think?
It's up to you guys. Unless you want to try and do the 28th.
Who would help facilitate?
Craig's pretty important for these meetings.
Yes, very important.
He is important. Can you do the 28th of May?
28th of May is available, yes.
Dana, Darren?
I can.
Yes, that works for me too.
All right,
So we'll just be missing Ed.
I'll be here in spirit.
thank you.
Well, if you see the agenda and you have any comment,
Thanks.
you can
Yeah.
weigh in.
Yeah.
Laura,
Yes.
was Claire giving a presentation? The stuff you had on the,
We will figure that out.
Yep.
On the, for tonight, you mean?
well, you had some stuff on the agenda. I didn't know if she was going to talk about it.
No,
I
not,
think it's for review, just to read.
Yeah.
Claire, was there any, I don't think we,
not in this meeting. Not for tonight's meeting, no. But she's available for questions if anybody had any.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything on the agenda for Claire.
You had pages that you attached, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, it's a great point, because you're exactly right, they are there.
Those are from our prior.
That was from the minutes.
yeah.
That's
Oh.
the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay.
I said attached
Okay.
is her presentation.
Gotcha.
Can we fire up public comment so that we don't miss
Yes.
the Ale House?
Yep.
I will be very brief. Just as a member of the Environmental Advisory Board, based upon comments at our last meeting about invasive plants, I wanted to give a definition. So we understand what we're talking about. Invasive plants are non-native plant species that spread rapidly and outcompete native species, causing environmental and economic harm. It's not the same as non-native. Most non-natives are fine. They don't overrun things, and so therefore are not invasive. They are a problem because they outcompete native plants and take over habitat because animals and fungus and everybody here does not go on them, and their natural ones in their native habitat did not come with them. So no one's preying upon them, eating them, so they outcompete and take over a habitat, reducing habitat for native wildlife and disrupting the food chain. And they are an official thing. DCNR puts out a list of what are invasive species in our state. So it's not just plants we don't like or plants that are foreign. It is specifically plants that overrun. And that can be, if you've noted, amber honeysuckle up and down our roads, everything's an amber honeysuckle, English ivy, lesser celandine this time of year, that little yellow thing on the ground. These are invasives, and they disrupt our habitat and our environment.
Which is why John spent so much money, or is donating money to help address that.
That is why we want to remove the invasives. People were, it seemed like there was a little bit like, what's an invasive? So I just wanted to make sure we were all clear on what an invasive is.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate them.
Any other comments? Yes?
At the last meeting and included in the packet, there is a description or a depiction of where the cross-county trail will enter the fields at Abolition Hall, behind Abolition Hall. And there was a presentation before the Board of Supervisors last week by county trail planners, which, if I understood correctly, showed the cross-county trail coming through the hall parcel, not through the fields at Abolition Hall. And I just wanted to make sure that Claire was aware of that, if I understood the presentation correctly. And in fact, when I came in here tonight and walked through the hallway, the video from the Board of Supervisors meeting was playing, and just happened at that very moment that I passed the screen, the trail map was up on the screen, that portion of the presentation made by the trail planners from the county, and very clearly shows the trail crossing Butler Pike and entering the hall parcel, not the Abolition Hall property.
That is a very diagrammatic plan. I can recheck the information that is available from the Montgomery County Planning Division to see what their most recent information is. There was early on a description of using the alignment of the Moan path through Abolition Hall, which is what is shown, or the Abolition Hall property, which is what is on that diagram. But in no way is that a design or any representation of a final alignment. Okay. It's just kind of a shorthand to say that the trail will be crossing somewhere in the vicinity.
Okay.
Yeah, Claire, I can send you the county's presentation from the other night. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Board? All those in favor of adjourning? Aye. Aye. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.